Hi, Paul Sakis, Good News Broadcast, Pause the World for Peace. And I've got the honor, actually, to speak with Metta Spenser, a good friend, Rebecca Fannin, who does tremendous kinds of work in the Asian market. She's a guru here. And
Mhm.
she knows I like good news and I like nice people. And anybody she would ever send to me, obviously, is that type of person. And Meta, you are that type. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, you've caught me at my desk in Toronto. I'm going to be 92 pretty soon, so very much on my mind is how to wind up my affairs and leave my little empire in good shape as I turn it over to younger people. I'm a retired sociology professor, University of Toronto. They call us emeritus. Some people pronounce it emeritus. I have to look that up sometime, find out who's right and who's wrong. Anyway, I used to teach peace studies at the University of Toronto as part of my sociology regimen, and then I was the president of Science for Peace for about 5 years, and I've been publishing Peace Magazine for it's going to be exactly 40 years this month. So we'll be publishing a special issue celebrating our 40th birthday as Peace Magazine. And for the last 5 years, I've been running something called Project Save the World, which is a little bigger in scope or broader in content than Peace Magazine, because it deals not just with the threat of war and peace, or the threat of peace is not exactly a problem, is it? The threat of weapons and so on, but also with global warming, famine, pandemics, radioactive contamination, cyber risks, and economic problems, governance and human rights issues, and civil society problems. So we have a whole variety of topics. Each of them gets a page in our website, which is called tosavetheworld.ca. And we also run talk shows very similar to yours, maybe a little longer. I talk for an hour every time when I interview somebody. And what we do is discuss the serious global issues that are facing us, the ones that could wipe out a billion people at a whack. So we interview experts and also people who are going to be affected by the decisions that are made by government and so on. So that's pretty much what I do with my time. Similar, I think, in ways to what you do with your time, if I'm not
There's
mistaken.
definitely similarities, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
You have your 40. Well, I have 50 years in the show business, making shows. Uh,
Mhm.
you got 40 years into a peace outreach, if not
Mhm.
longer. I'm sure you're the type. I got a feeling that when you were born, you were involved with the world of peace. What do you think? Your early days as a young person, did you see some? I'll put it in question marks. Some insanity out there that you said, well, how come people are like fighting and stuff?
But no, it didn't occur to me at all. I was brought up in a family where my parents worked at a military base.
Oh,
And I remember exactly when Hiroshima was bombed. And I remember, to my great everlasting remorse, that I thought, that's wonderful. Now we win the war. And the pain and the misery that was caused never fazed me. It was just that's the way people thought during World War II. And it must have been about 5 years at least before I first heard anybody to say, we shouldn't have done that. And then when I went to Berkeley as a first year student, I became acquainted with a man who tried to be a conscientious objector. His parents were peace workers or peace activists, you might say. His father had been in World War I and never talked about it, except that we knew that it was the biggest trauma of his life. And I remember their coffee table was always full, excuse me, full of magazines from the Fellowship of Reconciliation, which was I guess, one of the leading peace groups in those days. And that's where I caught it. I think also I got the feeling when somebody came to my door and knocked and said, we have to do something about this war in Vietnam. And I thought, well, yeah, we have to do something about that. And I did get involved then. So I suppose my first anti-war activism occurred when when the Vietnam War was on. And I lived in a student village, a graduate student village at the time. And a lot of people there were very disturbed by the Vietnam War and took action against it. So that's sort of my induction into peace work.
Well, Berkeley, in California, you're speaking about, right? Berkeley. Yeah, that notoriously known for its not liking war and frustration with it, the Haight-Ashbury crowd, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm happy. We're honored that you have done that kind of work and continue to do that kind of work, and to such a major degree here. What do you are we? What do you think the best is we're going to have? Do you think we'll ever have a full utopia out there?
Oh, no, I think that really it's a question of building alternatives to war. I mean, right now, I can't imagine a promising solution to the war in Ukraine myself, and I spend a lot of time trying to think of alternatives to war. It's come to a pass where, you can't think of what else to do when you're really desperate and you feel you really have to defend your country. I understand that. But we have to build international law. The reason we don't kill each other is because we can call the police and we can sue each other. And, we have laws in our ordinary society, but we don't have international law that really amounts to anything. And until we develop ways of prosecuting people who are aggressive, as for example, Putin is now, if you can't arrest a criminal, then you're going to have a violent society. Well, we have a violent world because we don't have any real way of prosecuting the people who are heads of countries and who take aggressive action against other countries. So we need that.
What is this will be, this is like our first meeting, but I'd love to have you more involved with what we're doing, and we'll send you out some stuff, and we'd be more than happy to share whatever you're doing in the world of peace, because we do have actual similar the International Day of Peace is what we're focused on now, and we have been for over 20 years, since 2002.
This is September 21st you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yeah. So we have Times Square, so I'm busy at that one right now.
I
Now
see.
calling that together. We just did Earth Day. We're going to call it International Day of Peace and Ecology, because ecology seems to be on the mind of everybody right now, which is good because it needs to be. So this is all important work, and it takes a lot. It's not necessarily always an appreciated area. Everybody else seems to be doing other things, so like a small community of concerned citizens with this in certain ways. Let me ask you.
I'd be glad to talk to you at length about your celebration on the International Day of Peace. That I want to know more about it. So
Okay, we'll be happy to do that, and thank you for that. What is peace? Our last question, what we ask for a lot of people is, what is peace for them? So, Metta Spenser, what is peace for you?
The absence of reason for fear. If you have no particular reason to be afraid, you can feel inward peace, but it's not just an inner state of mind, I think. It is a condition in which people are, there has to be at least a certain amount of justice and fairness, because you could have something that looks like peace, that is, no blood is being shed, people are looking like they're complying with each other's wishes, but one of them is actually oppressing the other, and they know that, for example, a slave knows he can't rebel because he'd be killed. So it looks like there's peace, there's no blood being shed, but it's only implicit because we know that there's injustice, and unless there is some degree of justice and fairness and equity, then what looks like a calm state of mind may not be real peace.
Wow. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. You really, you know your subject.
It's always good to talk. Okay.
Thanks. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right. See you, Paul.
See you
Bye.
soon.